this is Sarah Soiledplant and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over office plants. What sort of plants can you grow in an office, wherever you work, if it happens to have a place where you can put a plant? What sort of plant works best? I'll start off by saying that if you have an office with a window, you can pretty much grow any plant as long as it can stand to be without watering for as long as you take vacations for. If you take week-long vacations, pretty much any plant will work. If you're taking like 2 weeks up to a month, you got to take into account what type of plant you have. But aside from that, that is unless you have a friend at work who can water the plant on your behalf. Otherwise, there's not really anything limiting what type of plant you can have, just depending on humidity conditions maybe. But if you have a window, you are very, very lucky. My old job, I had a window where I actually grew a Dracaena and a begonia, and they loved it there, especially they loved having my attention all the time. But if you're like me and your current work situation has you in cubicle farm, if it has you in fluorescent lighting, I have a few plants that will work for that type of scenario. Firstly, I'd like to start off with a pothos. Pothos are known for being very good in an office environment. They can stand being in fluorescent light, they can handle low light pretty well, and they still grow, and they don't need to be watered all the time. When they don't get watered, they get droopy, much like mine is. I made the mistake of skipping over this plant the last time I watered, and I will water it after this video, but this is how it looks when it gets droopy. And granted, it's the winter time, but this is me not watering it for 2 whole weeks. So if you have a situation where you don't have someone who can water your plants for you or someone reliable to water your plants for you, and you take longer vacations, a pothos would be a great option if you wanted a lot of greenery. Also, they vine, they crawl, it can go over a cubicle, it can go up, it can go down, depending on if you have shelves. Pothos are recommended for office spaces for a lot of reasons, and those reasons are really good reasons. This one right here is a Snow Queen variety, but I have your standard jade green variety. You've got the golden pothos, you have lemon lime pothos. The color combinations are pretty endless. I will say I would stay away from Enjoy. They're a little bit harder to find anyway, but they grow really slowly in good conditions, and ones like this that have a good amount of variegation, and this is the Snow Queen variety, lots of like creamy variegation, it does really, really well even in low light situations. So I'd recommend those types of pothos. The jade, golden, lemon lime, Snow Queen, stuff along those lines. I'm probably forgetting a few, but those are the main ones that I can think of right now. And like I said, this is a little droopy, but this is after 2 weeks of not being watered. You'll lose like a couple leaves, but they grow back so fast. In that same vein, I would like to recommend your standard heartleaf philodendron. They look almost identical to pothos and they behave very similarly, and you can get them in a lot of color varieties. They come in the Brazil variety, which is green with the little lime green center. This is a lemon lime heartleaf philodendron. I've also got your standard green, which is really lovely, really lush. And I can say from experience, this plant itself was grown from my parents, and it gets very low indirect light because it's on their mantle, and their mantle doesn't have a lot of light on it. But it still grows. It grows slowly, but it still grows, and it's been growing for 15 years. In particular, these 2 varieties in the Brazil are what I'd recommend. Those are the main 3, I think. I might be forgetting one. But these all are just fantastic. Any of the other ones are going to have higher variegation, which means it's not likely to grow very quickly and may suffer a little bit in very low light situations, especially fluorescent lighting situations. So heartleaf philodendron, fantastic plants. I love them. Or pothos, they're very, very similar. This is just in case you can only find one or the other at your local store. Both are great. Next, how about some Syngonium? They grow just as well as a heartleaf philodendron, but they have a little bit more color to them. You have a little bit more pinks, you have some different colored greens. I would kind of stay away from ones with a lot of white variegation. I would try to pick ones that do have a good amount of green in them, but they are really cool. They're mostly vertical growing plants. They're a little spindly, and you got the little arrowhead shapes that are really, really cute and unique, a little bit different than the heartleaf shape. And just in case everyone in your office already has pothos everywhere, this is a great alternative that makes you stand out from the crowd a little bit, but the behavior is very, very similar to the other ones. This one I probably would not allow to go 2 weeks without water. The other ones can stand it, even though they'd prefer to be watered weekly. But this one I think needs watering a little more often. So if you are around and you don't take very long vacations, or you're not allowed to take very long vacations, this would be a good option. Now, of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention snake plants and ZZ plants. I have a ZZ plant right here. Actually, let me switch to the other side so you can see it better. But this one I have is a Raven variety, which is black. There are ones that are green, just my green one is gigantic and not good for propping up and holding for the video. This is just the only one I have that's on the smaller side. But these are fantastic. You can usually go about 2 weeks without water in the summertime and a full month with no water, maybe even 2 months in the wintertime, depending on the lighting conditions you give it. It is really resilient. It is super awesome. It's easy to tell when it's not happy, but these do especially well in low light. So if you are somebody who wants something extremely low maintenance and will just sit there and grow and fill up your desk and make it look pretty, this is a fantastic option. Of course, it doesn't have to be the Raven variety, and snake plants come in a bunch of different color combinations with borders and things like that that are super cool. I definitely recommend these, and you can even see I've got a little new growth point right there. The new growth on the Ravens comes in like lime green, and it's so pretty, and you'll get to watch it fade over time. And it's nice to have a nice structured plant, especially if you don't want things hanging, if you don't want things growing up and you just kind of want it contained in the pot and will always stay contained in the pot. These are good options. The next plant I chose is actually a pretty unconventional choice. I don't think many people have mentioned this as far as like low light office plants, but I definitely think this one could survive and do very well if you want something a little more challenging. And that is the Maranta Lemon Lime, or any of the Maranta family. There's a bunch of different colors. There's ones like this that are red. There's other ones that are solid green with little kind of whiskers on them. They're also a little bit more affordable. You might be able to get a decent sized pot for a more affordable price point. But ultimately, these plants do fairly well because they don't need as much water as a standard calathea does. It doesn't need as much humidity. Now, granted, if you live and work in the Sahara Desert and it's like 10% humidity, 15% humidity, don't probably get this one. But if you've got like a solid 25%, maybe 30% humidity, just ambient in your office, this would actually be an excellent choice, and it could do very well in that environment. You might get little brown edges and things like that, but I get brown edges, and mine is watered plenty, and it has grow lights, and it has high humidity. So these plants are always gonna have like little marks and things like that. So if that's something you don't want, this is probably not the plant for you. But I will say that as far as standard office environments goes and in fluorescent lighting, I do think that these would do fairly well. So worth considering. Let me know what you think of my picks. Am I crazy for thinking a Maranta can grow in an office? Possibly, but give it a try. I'm considering giving it a try myself. I'm sure the next question is, okay, fine, what type of office plants do you have? You have all these plants. These are your recommendations. What do you currently have? And the answer is, I don't actually have any plants in my office. I've considered bringing some a few different times, but I've always been hesitant, and I don't end up doing it, mainly because I have an office where the lights are on 24/7 pretty much. And if it is turned off, it's usually turned off for days at a time, usually when there's vacations and times off and holidays. The lights are off all day and there is no window light at all. So I do worry that that would be too stressful on a plant. I do think like a ZZ plant or a snake plant would do just fine in an office space, but I was hoping I would be able to get like a Pothos or something like that, and I still might do that. I might actually take cuttings of my plants and bring it over. I might actually take a few cuttings from my jade Pothos and bring it into work. Might as well. I just always put it off for one reason or another. There's no reason to really be worried because ultimately it's a couple of cuttings of a Pothos. If I lose them, it is what it is. Maybe that's a 2022 New Year's resolution, is to have some plants in my office space. That sounds actually very nice. I might do that. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I post videos weekly, and I will catch you next time. Bye!